Okay, delivery process for the 1640 TK50 2007. Hello, whenever you're ready. It was a setup of the camera that somebody messes with. Time swap or something like that.
Time warp?
Time warp, yeah.
Okay, so in the front, it's pretty straightforward, just like any old trailer. You got a military trailer hook, and this is 15,000. You cross the chain, and then there's a breakaway switch. If the unit had gotten loose, it'll apply the brakes on the unit, and that runs off the battery.
Brakes are new.
Brakes are new. If the battery had gone dead on the pump, then of course you're not going to get any brakes. So have that hooked up, because if a lawyer gets a hold of you and it breaks away and they figured out it was disabled or whatever, when they're going to burn you, they're going to burn you good. So, and it's a DOT violation. So you got a 7-pole connector here. You have right, left, stop, and running lights. Everything except reverse. Same with the jack. It's a 3-position jack. The foot comes down and you line it all the way up. Right? Inside the top there is a radiator cap here in this hole, and that's for green industry.
Okay.
I take the pink out. 50/50, yeah. I think that pink shit out, man, that's fucking junk. But you about got to take the radiator apart to do the serpentine belt. So we take them apart, okay, dump it anyway, so we dump it on the ground, put pink or green back in there, and put the new serpentine belt. So this engine is a 2012 TDC. So this is a tier 3, not a 4. So this is the next generation. If you want to see, this is not a 4 final, but this is a 4. You can tell the difference between the block. So this is a 4. So that's how you can distinguish between the two. So there's not much difference. One's more electronic than the other. The only electronics were different was here, the fuel separator. Yours doesn't have a sensor on it, this one does. That's the only difference between the two. In the Drool, you can change on this through a program. The Drool, you can't. This is the point where you throttle it up. This has an internal governor in it that comes, you can't just pull it and it do 2100 RPM. When you go up, that governor comes up and steps. And you can set that differently to the Drool. So that's the only difference between the two.
Always when you're running wide open.
Hold on. Wide open. Unfortunately, you through the filter, to the cooler, and back to tank. And 21 liters a minute. That's all that does. So if you slow the engine down, you slow your cooling and cleaning capability up real quick. So you will overheat. You will. So if someone tells you, hey, get out of here, you know. You do it. So the engine is a TDC. So it's a normal, just like an engine or in your truck, every 250 engine hours. And the truck is 10,000 miles. And the Joyce is 250 engine hours. And then here, you have your engine hours. Yeah, so you got oil, fuel, secondary, and your air filter stuck up in there. You see the air filter canister?
Good to change all 3 after 250 hours.
250 hours. And then you'll also do your hydraulic filter too.
Okay.
And you should do it, relatively twice a year. But I've seen guys go 8 or 9 months. If you're using a full synthetic, and I've seen them even longer than a year. But you must change this at 250.
Okay. What full?
We're using a Rotilla T4 10W30.
10W30.
And that's the climate induces to here. So you might get 90 degrees, like today. So that is inducing to here. Now, if you go to a little bit colder, then you can run a little bit heavier. You can.
I'm in South Georgia, so about the same.
About the same, yeah. I stick with the 1030.
Hydraulic oil, just...
So you would call us, or he's gonna send you a PDF of all the parts breakdown on the machine. So when you call us with a part number. It makes it easier for you. And it's listed in there. You give them the number. You can even text it to them. Listen, I need 3 of these. I need 1 of these. I need it next day, or I don't really need it now. Send it to me on a regular ground. And that usually costs you what, $25 for a regular ground shipping. So now you can convert them. I don't recommend it, but you can convert them. You can convert them to a Napa filter. There is a conversion for them. It's in the pH 47 or some shit, 53. So you can convert them. and that's at 250 hours. Your filler and then your oil, and there's a breather up on top. You can fill from the top, but that's not really the industry norm on the side. This gentleman, I don't know, for whatever, I guess stealing used oil was a thing, so he put a lock on it. I don't know, I kind of left it on. I thought, well, fuck, he made a lot of trouble to make a lock on it. Might as well keep it on there, so I left it on there. Just kind of interesting, but I don't know who would steal used oil.
Somebody might have been sabotaging.
Yeah, that could have been too. I mean, I can think of better ways to sabotage. It's easier, but
Yeah.
well, I guess I just know how hard it is to take an engine out and put one in. I would never do that shit. See, I'd take one of your proximity switches out and left that shit when you turn it on. That shit shoot to the moon, you know. Holy fuck! You see him running around like that? Yeah, do something interesting, you know. But so there is on the fuel tank here, there is a low spot. All tanks are at a V. So if you feel right here, there's a low spot here. There's a runoff, so you can let fuel out. So in your monthly inspection, you let a little bit of fuel out, and because the returning fuel is hot and the diesel is cold, you're going to get expansion. You're going to get condensation. So it will condensate. The same on the hydraulic tank. If you look over here in the corner, back there in the corner, you see that quarter turn valve?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you let a little bit up there, and this be on a monthly inspection. So he'll give you daily, weekly, monthly, yearly inspection on the PVF. So all tanks are at a V, and you will, especially in the hydraulic tank. You won't see much of it. You know, it might take you 5 years, but then at 5 years, the first time that main drag, sucks it up, and it's in. A guy wiped a tank out from the factory with one of these, and there was enough hair on one of these to blow a main drive up. That's how the tolerances on them are so close on those rock pumps. I mean, it takes a hell of a pump to get 300 bar, 7,600 psi. So you can imagine. I mean, the tolerances are close, real close. So don't take much. And they suck through a screen, but they return through a filter. So if it, in theory, it's a closed system, the only way you can get water is if condensation, you dump water in the tank, or if you let the packings get bad, and like you were discussing, you let it get cold, and then at night it cools down. The first time it's going to suck in like a straw. So then you start the machine up, it returns your oil, and you get water. So like I said, it won't be much, but then over time, So you're always going to, the fuel and the oil, you're going to do this just like oil and water, salad dressing. You shake it up, you let it sit, it'll separate. So this is in the morning, level, bleed off. Not after, the job and it's still hot. It doesn't work that way, it's condensed. Okay, so moving on back, so I showed you the proximity switches, you've got 3. And then we'll kind of discuss them a little bit more later. Agitator. So the industry norm is always 2U, and that's in a forward gear. That's bringing the material into the material cylinder. Away you'd get air pocket. Now you won't see this in, as you can look in there, the agitator blades. You get a 6-inch slump, 7-inch, 8-inch. It's too loose. It doesn't move anything. But doing shotcrete, it does have consideration. You'll get a lot of air. So you always want to be pulling towards
the cylinders.
Yeah. They're somewhat effective. Mainly is if you wait for your call back, you use forward and reverse. Get your shovel, mix it up there, forward reverse, kind of mix it up a little bit inside the operating. That's what you use the reverse the most. But normally I'm going to. So then you got your hydraulic filter, and then you got a simple static gauge, and that works off vacuum. So in the morning you're going to see it get into the yellow and in the red, and then as it gets warmer, it'll come down to green. So you're going to read this at the end of the job. You're going to see where you're at. You'll never, if you're changing at 250 hours, you're never going to get into the red. You'll never. You start waiting, 8-9 months, you're going to start to see it creep up into the red. Hydraulic fluid's like your blood, so if you keep it clean, you can have a good life. If you keep it dirty, you're going to be long. We scrubbed the tank down already. There's a set of magnets that hold, it's called particle migration, and where the stream goes or the fluid, you can kind of see, as you look in there, you can see the dirt. You actually make the stream, you can actually see it. So that's where we place the magnets in the stream. So about every, in the yearly, it's going to say inspect the hydraulic tank. That means you take all the fluid out, pop the caps off, and look, and put your hand in and wipe it and see if you see anything. If so, then clean it out. Usually it's going to take about, you're into year 2 or 3 with the fluid that we're using. We're using an anywhere 46, so it's an AW46. So in theory, you should get 4,600 hours out of it and the life of it. Now, if you get it hot and it capulate, you start adding oil a lot. Of course, you're not going to get the 4,000 hours. Bulk oil is dirty by nature. Even clean oil is dirty. So in a closed system, how you can contaminate the system is you keep adding oil to it. So if you see a leak, fix it. You know, stop the hemorrhage. Because you by adding oil can contaminate the system. Unless it's filtered. We got a filter cart that we built. And this is 2 microns go through. So it goes from a 5 to a 2. And this is filtering in this tank. The 5 microns and the 2 microns. So that's both of them we're filtering in. So that's how tedious, you know, it gets.
Clean.
So just be mindful, you keep adding oil, you're going to contaminate, you know, or you're going to lose the filter quick. Adding oil from the hydraulic tank, you know, put the degreaser in there. I mean, you can do it somewhat, but then you're always using oil. I mean, you got to refill the tank now. That means you got to put new oil in, new oil dirt. So what's in the machine stays in the machine. If you want to, I keep a 5-gallon bucket of hydraulic fluid and I'll mix it, you know, at the shop, put some diesel in it, and then use it for a sprayer. You know, I'll never take it from the machine. They got so far as a lot of guys, especially on boom trucks, they'll hook it to the agitator line and hook a wand in a sprayer. And they'll turn the agitator on, spray the whole machine down. But that voided your warranty. So that's how much they don't want you to touch with hydraulic fluid. They don't want you, because we had too many problems with wreck swap. You know, they tell you one thing. Listen, you know, we sent it to them, man, it's contaminated. It's contaminated. No matter what you do, it's contaminated. We live on a big fucking island here in Florida. I mean, everything's gonna be contaminated, but they gave you on that. So it didn't matter what you did. If you seen that, you voided the warranty right there. That means you pulled the bin off of it. You put it on a sheet of paper and you send it to corporate office. If they hung something from the boom, if the guy was pulling hose from the frame, that voided your warranty. I come out there and pull the tag off of the frame. So they wanted, you know, I mean, it just over the years, man, everybody, you know, just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. You know, constantly coming back with new units. We've got to replace them. Got to replace them. Come to find out, you know, it's guys taking all out of the whole box. You know what I mean? So just be mindful. If you see a leak, fix it. You know, always try to keep your old where it's at. You know, it's been filtered. It's cleaner than clean. You know what I mean? You can't the filter you can't even breathe through. So trust me, if there was something in the oil, you catch it. You got your water box, and we discussed, you know, where to fill it, how to fill it. You fill it up every day, you let it out at the end of the day. Because the rod cools different than the casing. The rod is chrome hardened, and the casing is just steel, tool steel. I mean, so they contract differently, and that means one will stay small and the other one will get big, and then you got a neoprene ring in there, and you can't hold the seal. It'll suck a little bit of water in, and then of course you return it. So when I'm talking, correct, and I just flip it over. That's it. So I'll bring it back one stroke.
Did that by pressing.
I just initiate the switch over. Instead of going all the way down and coming all the way back up, I shortened it. So if you switch over, emulate a switch over. So every time I hit that button, this S tube is going to switch over, and then the piston's going to come back.
Holy.
Just on the end of the head. So that's I'm just tricking the system. That's all I'm doing. You use the test button differently than I'll use it. As a mechanic, I would hold it. So if I hold it, you're going to use it differently than I use it. I use it for main pressure, and you're going to emulate a switch over. So you use it differently. Now you're going to call me and say, listen here, I turned the machine on, I got the flow all the way out, and it ain't doing anything. Well, let's fire a switch over and hold it, and I want to see how much pressure you built. Well, it builds 3,000 when we know it's not hydraulic then, so we split the system. Now it's electronic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this right here is your switch over.
No.
The test button switch.
Test button.
Yeah.
That was your reverse.
The momentary. That's the reverse.
Okay.
So it's always going to stay in reverse every time I hit this. So this is not a forward gear. This is an ignition gear.
Pump on, pump off.
Pump on, pump off. If this is off, it's always now in a forward gear. Always. If I turn it on, it's always in a reverse. I turn the machine off, the momentum off, it's still stuck in reverse until I switch down. So that's how that works.
And in order to not damage the machine, you'll have to turn the pump off, then
Correct.
do the switching, and then pump it on again.
Right. Because all you're doing
Every time that you're
right on the forward reverse valve is where the spool is. So in theory, if you went from forward to reverse, you would shove that spool as hard as you can on the other side. With working pressure, it's about maybe 5 bar or so, about 100 psi. But it's enough to jam it, and now it'll be stuck in reverse until I get in there and dig it out or replace it. So he is correct. Anytime you go from forward to reverse, you must turn the machine off and then go out of reverse and then go back into a forward gear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So never do a wise running. Wise.
Why it's in reverse, right?
Or
No, I
forward.
mean, it won't happen today, tomorrow, but in a year it'll finally bam, and then it'll be stuck.
What
in reverse.
position is it supposed to run in when you're pumping? Like it
like
is
that.
now?
Like
Yeah.
it is now.
Pumping
when-
forward.
If you get it clogged and you need to bust the line loose, you turn that off,
Yeah.
put it in reverse, turn it back on, back it up,
Yeah.
and then turn
Correct.
it off.
Correct.
And then you go back to forward.
Correct.
Correct.
That's just a pump on and off, and it just so happens when you
Hola.
normally if you turn pump on and off, it's always in a forward gear, always, unless you initiate the reverse. The binary code for it is always set up for a forward.
I can turn it off wise. Turn the pump off wise in reverse, and then flip it back down to forward.
And then turn it back on. Correct. That's the norm. And that just doesn't shove the spool from one end to the other. You've got it now in the middle, and then it goes on to the end.
And then this is your
Test button.
Test button.
That emulates
That's-
the switchover.
that's
Correct. If a proximity switch had gone bad, you hit the test button. It would pressure out like it did, and then you just flick it one time, and it goes back into a new. It's a momentary switch. These are latch switches here, and they stay up. It's latch. It's always on. Momentary.
I guess. This.
Your fan, cooling fan.
For the
when you put
hydraulic
that on,
radiator.
the cooling fan will come on. I can't hear you, but that's why I always turn it off. But when if you're pumping, you're always in a fan. Always.
So
Especially in Georgia, it gets hot.
when I'm pumping, leave this on. It don't come on automatic.
It will, but like cooking oil, it'll go
Too late.
Yeah, it'll go way past you overheat before that has any effect on it.
So go ahead and turn it on as soon as you start.
As soon as you start. Yeah. A lot of owner operators usually wire them together. And as you turn the key switch on, they'll put these two wires together and just screw them together. And when you turn the key switch on, it's always on. And that keeps you from forgetting. Because over the years, owners have figured out that they get a call, hey man, this thing doesn't, and it just keeps getting hot and hot and hot and hot, and then pretty soon,
And that was
in
why.
2 or 3 years, the machine ain't worth a shit. Because it's been getting hot so many times, it's fried all the cylinders out of it. So they wire them together. There is a sensor like we were discussing, but like cooking oil, it'll come on at about 100 and 120, but then it'll get to about 170 before it finally does any good. You see any effort, because you remember there's only a 2-degree drop on a cooling fan. In a radiator, there's only 2 degrees. So as it's coming in, it's going in 150, it's coming out 148. So it takes a while for it to start cooling again, you know what I mean? So it's always doing on. The turn it on is you turn it on and turn it into the start position. And then you start. This is for a tag out, lockout feature. If you're going to work on it, you can put it in neutral. So this panel or the remote panel doesn't work now. Nothing works. You can't engage anything. And then of course, the line going away from the box is for your remote switch setting. Okay. Now only the remote works, and anything you do on this panel will not work. So you could be 100 feet away and start flipping the levers. Doesn't really matter. Now the e-stop does work, however. If they come by and hit the e-stop, it'll kill the motor. That's the only thing that will kill it. So you're going to hear a click. Hear a click, and that's a fuel solenoid come online. If I hit the e-stop, I don't hear a click anymore. Yeah, and you're going to get a red light. The same with the hopper brake switch. If you leave it up, you're going to get a red light, and you're not going to hear a click. So in the morning, you be mindful that you don't hear a click. You know something's wrong. It's a safety related item. It's not bad. Either the switch has gotten wet and corroded and fused together, or whatever. Somebody pulled it out or pushed it in or whatever. So the same with the switch here. All that is on a cam, and as the cam comes up, it opens up the switch.
On
You
this,
can, in theory, take the cam off and take the two wires and put them together. However, I don't recommend you run it for long, but I would, you know, that gets you through the job. You know what I mean? You, for whatever you,
How often do these stuff go bad?
that one probably never, because nobody hardly ever uses it. This one, however, goes bad periodically. Usually it gets you, you do 20 yards and they have a 4-yard callback. Well, I can wash up in 15 minutes. I wash up. I wait, you know, because callback might take you an hour and a half to get, you know what I mean? So I bullshit. I go in the truck and sit in the air conditioning and bullshit on my phone, you know what I mean? I can wash up 15 minutes, real quick. A quick wash up, you know what I mean? So you lift the grate up, you're washing down, you pour it down, boom, you get the truck. You come back, try to start it, take switch on that. And there, pull the cover up, put the two wires together, boom, let's go. However, I'm older when I'm ever called, you know, Juan, hey, listen, man, send me another switch. I need it. Because that is a fatality. That's a big one.
it won't stop for nothing, right?
No, I set them at 200 bar. That's 5,200 psi. It's going to pull you in. You'll be lucky if it tears your arm off. You'll be lucky. It won't.
You'd be lucky if it ripped your arm off,
Yeah.
you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you'll still live, but it won't. It'll drag you in, unfortunately. I mean, they're pretty much, like I said, it's a thinking man's game. They're unforgiving. Unfortunately, when you get this big now, you're in the big boy game. There's no second chances. On a C30, you know, you get slapped pretty good. You might miss a tooth. You might get your teeth knocked out. You live another day and talk about it. These, however, it's unforgiving. Unforgiving. So just be mindful of what you do. You always verify zero. I turn the machine off before I work on it. You know, you get around and I'm pumping and you're acting crazy, get the fuck away from me, man. You know, I'm not going to lose a bunch of fingers. This one here, I was dislocated. It was a class action lawsuit. For whatever reason, I don't know, I got there after the fact, but for whatever reason, the guy who run the machine, I don't know, seen a rock in there, and it was probably 30 yards into it, and I guess he couldn't get to it. He had to have it. So he went to grab it, and that thing lopped off 4 fingers. 4 of them. Well, this is when the 6.0 came out, and the ambulance that showed up broke down on the way to the hospital, and the guy fled to death and died. So Ford, Schwing, and myself got implicated in the flashlight. I think Ford ended up paying out. Schwing, however, did. But we could add a sticker. That's part of the lawsuit. So just be mindful. For something you see every day, you kind of lose respect of it, man. You know, the sticker's there for a reason, man. I'm turning the machine off, 0, I can reach for it. The accumulator system, it's a cheap way of making an extreme amount of power. So on an accumulator, what it is you got a small pump running an air bottle. So this bottle here has a rubber bag in it, and we put inert gas, nitrogen in it, so it doesn't blow up. So that bag has 100 bar, plus 100 bar from the pump against it. Now you've doubled it, 200 bar, and that's what you see here on the switchover for the accumulator. So you're going to see it bleed down. So I'm going to turn it off, and you're going to see the gauge around 90 and then snap off. That's your pre-tension gas on that bag. You're going to do this on a monthly inspection.
Not 90, around here, right?
No, 90.
Oh, 90?
There you go.
Okay.
The specs are from about 40 to 90. That's the specs. So as long as you stay in that area, you're good. You get below 40, 35, you need to call us. And I'll either send you a new bag or you need to bring it to a place to air it up. Yeah. So they're like a bicycle tire, like a car. If you leave it sitting for a long time, it's going to go flat. If you use it every day, you'll never see it. It'll always be at 90 every day. But you'll do this on a monthly inspection, you'll check. So that's a cheap way of making a lot of power. However, the downfall of the system is, there's always a but. If the bag should go bad, the pump is now going to try to accommodate the 200 because it needs 200 to shift over. You're going to run the pump off. So now you got to pay the bag, which is about 800 bucks, and the pump, which is about $2 grand. So you double your money, which you could have just tested it once a month and paid $800. Boom, you're good for another 5, 10 years, whatever. So there's a drawback.
So the way you test it, you crook it up. You just crook it up.
Pick it up.
Yep.
And then where the point where it snaps is your pre-tension pressure.
Right there.
Yeah. So, be mindful about the 0. Those cages can't get stuck. Well, I'm sorry. it's called a relay dump valve, and it can get stuck. Debris, you know, O-ring in the system, get lodged in it, and now it doesn't dump. Now it's looking for a signal switch. You put your arm in the ass end, you're pulling around it, so when it gets going. I mean, you see these wood, that's how I cut that wood. Go that raw valve. Something. Don't stop. They cut it like butter. All day long. Okay, well, the industry norm is no farther than your wrist. No farther than your wrist. So you can put your hand in there, you see something, get a piece of rebar, hook it out. Turn the machine off, verify 0, put your arm in there, you're okay then. So the feet, you know, as soon as it gets hot, you get aggravated, you get the feet to sit out there to the house, or people a lady up, whatever, you lose your arm. Okay.
Dig your lady up.
So just verify that there's always 0 on the gauge. That's a must. And just, you know, be mindful of what you're doing. You know, don't get a big hurry. You know, protect your family. You know, what do you care? You know, I trust me. If somebody calls you and says, listen, can you, it's at 1 o'clock, can you be over my side of town at 4 o'clock and pump 40 yards, and you got 10 yards left, you're not going to make it. I know you like to think you're not going to make it. You're going to rush yourself, you're going to get hurt. Or you're going to use a hose, and that's all you're talking. You leave the, nowadays, you leave a clamper or somebody to your process, you know what I mean? So don't get a big hurry. I'm here. You know, I get another job, I'll tell you when I'm ready. But, you know, I'm the first one to admit, I work my ass off. You don't always get any tragedy. Always. Okay, so moving on. You talked about your main drive, your barn fuel pump, and then that's why you always leave it revved up. You're always at 2,200 RPM, and then you control it with the flow. Screw it in, slows the pump down, he turns it off. So if I don't want to get a phone call, hey, I got the light on, and it ain't doing nothing. You check your flow control. Oh yeah, I don't want to get that phone call. Flow control, that's what it's for, volume control. And percentage-wise, you're telling the regulator on the pump to demand what comes on. So that line is running this little whip line, the feed line, working pressure. So that's all that's doing. It's feeding about 200 bar, or I'm sorry, about 20 bar. And it tells the regulator to push it on the swash plate.
You said this controls this?
No.
No, that turns that tells the pump to come online, but it doesn't know when percentage what to come on to. This is what tells it to come on.
I got it screwed all the way in.
That's like the
It's
gas.
0%.
That's like the gas pedal for the pump.
Right. Exactly.
Correct.
For the piston.
So you tell the pump, okay, it start working, but it doesn't know how much to work. You tell it how much to work. Faster.
35%, right?
Correct. So each turn is of 10%.
Every turn.
About 3.5 rounds out, it should be working pressure. Give or take, be find the sweet spot.
Correct. So if you look over on the tag on the far, you kind of triangulate how many strokes a minute you're going to get. So the machine's at rated, so you're at TK50, you're around 53 yards an hour. So that's relatively at 32 strokes a minute. So that's about relatively what you're going to get, strokes. Now you call me and say, listen here, I'm only getting 25 strokes a minute. Well, remember, at the point of deregulation, now you're not going to get 35, 36. It's unrealistic to obtain that. So,
and that's running it wide open.
Wide open, correct. From the factory, all we're running is water and it's silicon sand, and that's what we're getting our average. So we run 3 times. The best of, that's what we put, strokes per minute. Now you can combinate by moving the horsepower curve on the main pump around a little bit, and then but you can't take one and not the other. So if I move strokes per minute, I'm lowering the flow of the pump. That means I can't downstream. I'm going to lose PSI for pressure. So you got to take one from the other. You got to cheat from somewhere.
Torque and horsepower.
Correct. So this
Like
pump, if you can
horsepower.
think, I mean, hell, if you set this as far, if you choked it all the way down, even the space shuttle, you couldn't move that pump. You know what I mean, a pump has no valve to tell it either blow up or just draw the engine down, shut off. So at some point you got to regulate it. How much to come on and how far to go. If you had 1 million horsepower, you choke 1 million horsepower on nothing. And that's what a pump does. You know what I mean? It likes power. It wants it. You know, I mean, that's the reason why you got to give it a curve. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the Reinhardt or another pump. You see them roll, bogging, the pump set too high. It's asking too much of the engines. Or that injector. But from the premise that it's an old pump, it probably got knocked off somewhere downstream.
Or
Settings do get knocked off a little bit.
Or you didn't rev it enough, right?
Or rev it up, correct. You're asking too much to each, correct.
Because every time that you're pumping with this one, you have to keep it at least 2100 RPM.
22.
2200 100 RPM.
So there is a factor in and that's what you're setting on the horsepower curve. You know, I mean, you're telling the pump what the engine is mounted to. You know what it is, what it's doing, how much. That's the reason why for us the horsepower on the engine is big, and then how much, you know, how many liters a minute of fuel it's taking in. We take that in consideration. So that's what the tag is for. Is it telling us the kilowatts? You know? So that's what we're setting the pump at. You know, if it's a bigger pump, it's the same pump. We're just setting it down. So this pump is the same as a 40 or a 30. We're just setting it accordingly to the engine. So you got your cooling fan here. So if you follow it on the returning fluid, it comes back and then it goes to the main drive. And then there's the fan. Your battery's here. Starter. Radiators up front.
That starter is brand new, right?
Brand new starter. Start lugging and we're lugging. So I'm working on back. We won't go to electronics. We'll just kind of move on around electronics and then we'll come back to it. So you got your volume control, you got your main pressure, this is at the head of the piston, you got your accumulator pressure, yeah, what the switchover is, how much it's asking
For the swing thing.
Correct. Right. So as you can see, when it was going, it was just dipping. It doesn't go down much. As it demands more, it'll dip farther and farther. If it starts getting down to around the 0 mark, then you need to call it something wrong. Usually, even on the roughest mix, it'll only go down to about 50, and then come back up. It only takes about a second to recover. So moving on, you got your material cylinders, which house the concrete. So as one's pulling, one's pushing.
Brand new.
Right. So as the rock valve's orientated in this hole, it's pushing concrete out through the hose. One is sucking back. You rotate, switch it over, and now that one's pushing. So that's how that works. Your switchover cylinders. The switchover head. The retaining plate. So let me let a little bit of water out, and I'm going to show you how this works. It's kind of a pinch. So on your monthly inspection, it's going to ask you to check the end plate of the cutting ring. You can change the end plate by that nut. You can make it tighter. Too loose, the cutting ring will actually fall out and down out of the rock valve. If you need it too loose. Now when we set them up a little bit tight. So you're going to go, relatively probably 6 months before you have to adjust it. Not long. It goes on yardage. Hell, it might go a year. You're only doing 3 jobs a week. Might be longer than that. Okay, so if you come over here and look, see the yellow part, and then you got the little chrome ring in the center, and then you got the rock valve or the S tube.
Mm-hmm.
You see that? So you got the wear plate that's stuck to the back here. Mm-hmm. You got the cutting ring, mm-hmm. and then you got the S tube. You see the gap between the cutting ring where the chrome piece is?
Yes.
You stick about 2/4 in there, mm-hmm. and that's about where you want to stay. If you don't, if you get about 3/4, then you're going to do a 1 flat. Not 3/4, you're going to do about a flat. This is a flat of a nut. So you're going to take these 2 lines off. They're 17s, 3 19 millimeters, and this plate's going to come off. You can't pump it with it off, but you can, for what we're doing, you take it off. And then you're going to go see where the retaining nut is here. This is a flat. So you're going to tighten it 1 more flat here. And that'll give you about a 16th, or the size of a quarter. So you're going to do this
from this flat to this flat.
Correct. And then you're going to put everything back on. Real simple. And this is about once a year, And now if you're pumping 16 jobs a week, well, you might have to do a little bit more than that. But on the average, I'm saying, probably 7-8 jobs a week, about once a year, you're into it.
What will you see if that gap gets wide, just other than the gap? Anything?
Well, what'll happen is you let it go that much more, and then you 2 times that amount, the cutting ring's gonna fall out. You just pump nothing. There's a whole gap through it. You won't pump anything. You're dead in the water. You can take a whole ass ton of power, put the cutting ring back in, slide it all back together. That kills you on the job, unfortunately. So, just like the piston cups, if you lose a piston cup on the job, that kills you. You got to stop, force it with a piece of steel all the way back, tighten it back up. Chances are the bolts have run off or the threads have, turns into a big thing. So, you check the bolts, check the end plate. I usually check the bolts once a week, but I make a point to train the guys, check them every day. That way you got no problem. We had a guy here, this guy, that's 260. His guy's 4, he checked it. We come in, we bring it in here. It keeps missing a stroke. Come to find out the damn piston cup's out. Bolts were fell out. All 4 bolts were in the water box. Couldn't even see that, you know. I mean, so they weren't checking shit. But so be mindful. In the book, it's going to call for about a weekly inspection, but I just every day. And the same with that. Every day, I look at it. When I'm washing out, you're already there. You know, you're greasing.
Mine as well.
Boom, you're looking right at it. You know, so you're doing much more than just greasing. You're out there. What if the grease line's broke? Yeah, hell, you're not greasing anything. You know what I mean? So I'm checking stuff out. Where's it going? Okay, boom. I see it. Okay, do a clear read. Boom. You know, it takes 30 seconds. You get trained right every day. You know, it's really easy. It's second nature. You know. And that's the way it takes every day. You go out, you come back every day, you know. The machine don't cost you shit for 5 years. What I usually do is I take 2% of the ticket and I put it in a savings. And at the end of the year, if I don't spend no money on the machine, I take a whole lot of vacation. If I do, you know, usually at the end of the year, you'll come up with about $3 grand. You know, man, that's a good year for you. That means you're doing your job. You didn't lose anything. You know what I mean? You can put that in a savings and keep adding up, or you can take your lady, you know, wherever. But most of the time, you'll find a bad operator to use that $3,000 every year. You got to do something. Ask them rebuild, new cylinders, piston cup, whatever, because he's not trained right, or he's not, you know, he's not thinking ahead. Why does this keep wearing out? What am I doing wrong? You know? So, like I said, it's a thinking man's game. You know, if you're smart and you go out every day, and you know, in theory, the machine lasts you 5 years with no money, you make a shitload of money. You know, enough to buy another machine, cash. You know, it gets real quick. But you got to be good. You got to be efficient. The book he's going to send you on PDF, it tells you everything. It's pretty detailed. You know, they've got it figured out. Check this, check that. You know, did you wash out right? Do you see any in play? Look in the rock valve. Do you see any, you see any residue? Well, you're not cleaning out right. You know, I mean, it's pretty entailed. So you just go through it. You know, read 10 pages a night, every night. You know, makes real quick. I think it's only I don't know, maybe 200-300 pages, something like that. But each page is on one topic. You know, the water box. The next page will be on the engine. The next page will be on the ascent. You know, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And everything I'm telling you is pretty much on the same book. You know, pretty word for word, pretty much. So, switch over, end play. We talked about the grease. This is after 50 yards. So if you're doing 60 yards, 50 pulls out, 60 backing up. Boom, I get 3 squirts on every one on the indicator, one on the motor. On the motor, it's a little bit tricky. You'll have to look under the step, but you'll see the fitting. See it there?
Right.
So a little tricky. And then copper safety switch here. And if you look under there, you'll see the cam. See it?
Yeah.
The cam in the wheel.
Yeah.
It's a pretty straightforward design. Same on the elevator. Same principle. Each floor has a cam. So the industry norm is for outriggers. If you run over a 250 truck, you don't really need outriggers. The 150, however, it'll blow the transmission out. Eventually, it will. So the norm is you would jack the nose all the way down. You'd set the outriggers down to where they touch. You pull the outrigger all the way up until you get the tension off the tires, and that's how you stop. Not the tires off the ground, but just the tension off.
Yeah.
Now you can do it high enough to take a tire off. So if you want to leave it on a job, you can do that. Of course, you're probably going to have to put a block there. Just, you know, 4x4. And that'll get you high enough to take it off.
2500 gas. So
It's not a consideration for you. You don't need it in reality. So only on the 50 tire. Those Toyotas are pretty temperamental. I mean, if you got a Toyota, they'll probably blow that rear end out pretty quick. And the brakes are a lot smaller too. This does have electric brakes. You can set that on your kids' timer in your truck. You set them high. These brake kits here, they're $65 a piece for us. So they're relatively cheap. I tend to run these kind of hard. They're cheap versus the truck. You know, more expensive, $400. So the coupler here is a 5-inch heavy duty. Yeah. We only run heavy duty. That's industry standard. No more metric. The only thing you'll find metric now is on the trucks because they're up in the air. Nobody's touching them. They're always metric is acceptable. Twist them and then pop off. So this is a heavy duty. So you're going to get a 5-3 elbow metric. I mean heavy duty to heavy duty, 3-inch, and then the rest of the way either hose, and then you can run 3 to 2 reducer. You're going to like that. You get your trap door down there. Just open it up and everything goes up. Clean the face of the trap door up because there is a rubber O-ring in there. You bring it up and you let that concrete build up and you close it. You'll just keep cutting the O-ring and then pretty soon it's always leaking. It won't hold any water. It's kind of, I mean, a lot of guys They leave like that all the time. Unfortunately, but you know, I tend to wash it off because it makes it easier, you know, to clean up. You can show up with a pile of concrete. You show up with a new rig, and you know, the chances are you break down. Well, hell, you don't pay the man. I mean, he's got a brand new rig. I mean, it ain't his fault. You show up with a whole bowl of concrete. Hell, that's your fault. No matter what happens, it's your fault. Look at that piece of shit. You know? So you do have brake lights, turn signals on each side, the LEDs, and then you have room. And that's per DOT. You got new spindles, brakes, and bearing buddies, and bearings. About at 500 miles, you're going to have to retighten the lug nuts. The tires are brand new too. You get with one if you wanted a spare or whatever. It's just gonna be a solid plate. So it's up to you. It can be just a 16 inch and you run a 12 ply. With the tires. You can, I think you can go down to 10 ply. You can, but you know, we run 12 for so longevity. You always running over curves, jumping up on shit. You know, it's like I was always fucked up with tires or something. I don't like doing that shit. I'm pretty lazy. So, and then you just got an inspection that you can do at the end of the job, and that turns into your backsplash. Yeah. So, moving on into here, into the electronic part of it. So, you got your, we'll work on your remote first. So, I geared up so you could take it off and put it on another machine if you wanted to. It's a simple, take it off, unbolt it, put it on another machine, and then you can use it again.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty straightforward.
Plug and play.
Yeah. So if I put it in the remote, you're gonna have the power on light. So these are the questions I'm gonna ask you. Hey, my remote doesn't work. Okay. So tell me what the lights are doing. So the first one's power to the unit. This is to the receiver. I initiate the fire. It starts blinking. When it's blinked slow, now they're communicating. You see the blinking?
Yeah.
If I use a function, reverse, you get the third light. You got a fire. I turn it off, it goes away. Well, it still ain't working when I know it's in the transmitter, not the receiver now. So we split the system in half. So these are the questions I'm going to ask you. Now, if that second light is solid, let me sit down. I'm getting old. If the light is solid, it means you got an interruption somewhere. Someone's got a 900 megahertz radio around you, one of them two-way radios, a pager, that still exists. Something that works on 900 megahertz. Something close to you. Usually at an airport will do it. Usually the tower's using a two-way. So you're working around something commercial like a power plant or coal mine or something, they usually give you a problem. Any other time, no. It's a random code. It's about 1 million sequential numbers. Every time you throw a code, when you use a function, it's looking for another one, and another one, and another one. So chances are you don't get a lot of interference in the normal setting.
So this one, turn it on. Well,
so remember, a pump is just a forward mechanism. So if I turn it off, you see the light right now is on. So if you hit stop, it goes off. You hit pump, comes on.
okay.
You hit stop again. Yeah. So now you hit reverse. And then you initiate the fire and hit pump. Now you're reversing. Now you're in reverse. When I hit stop, both lights are going to go out now. Yeah.
Yeah.
See that? So now you got to go back into reverse again to go back into reverse. Because when you hit pump again, it's just going to be the forward gear.
Pump.
Yeah. Now you're in reverse.
Okay. Stop.
Correct.
All right, and then I can increase and decrease.
These are add-on functions later on. I can put a for $800. I can put a coil on here, and that'll go into your remote, and you can remotely turn the volume control up and down.
Okay.
And I can do the engine speed also. That's what the next switch is for, remotely. And they're a little pricey. They're about $1,500. So it's an add-on system.
So basically, this is just gonna be my stop, pump, and forward.
Yeah, and you have to manually turn it up or down. So if the guys, you're going pretty. Usually, when they're pumping, I see them on their tippy toes. I stop. I do that all day long. You don't want them constantly working back. It's just too much for them. You know what I mean? So as you bust hose off, of course they get on the flat of their feet. Well, you gotta go back and turn it up. Because if you're not on the tippy toes, you're not gonna make much. You're probably, you're in the 20, 25 yard an hour range if they're not on their tippy toes. Means on the tippy toes, they're usually about 30, 35 an hour, usually. So that's about where I put them. Unless he comes and complains, hey man, that thing's whipping my ass. I'll turn it down a little bit, let them get on the flat of their feet, But usually I just looking at their feet. I keep turning up, and I see them. They start getting up a little bit. Okay, I'm holding that. They don't usually complain there. So you just see, it's a game. You see how far you can go with them. This crew is different from that crew. You kind of figure it out. So as you're busting hoses off, of course you're gonna have to go back and turn it up, and then go ahead and turn it back on. Unfortunately, in this system.
You want me to refill the hopper with water?
Yeah, go ahead. So that's on the remote. Now, here's the trick. If I go to reverse, and I hit pump, and I hit pump again, it'll turn off the fuse. Stays in reverse. It's going to be in reverse. So if I know constantly that I'm going to be in reverse a lot, then I'll just turn pump on and off that way. And that way it stays in reverse. Instead of hit stop and hit reverse and then hit pump again. I just hit pump. So there is a trick to it. So because I have to install a relay on it and your clefs in the sort
of. So if it reverse, then pump, and then stop. No.
Now both of them went out. So if you hit reverse, pump, hit pump again. Yeah, reverse stop.
Yeah. So and if I want to pump and reverse again, I just press pump.
Correct.
On and off. On and off.
Correct. Due to I got to use a relay circuit.
And then I got to stop. Now it's in pump. And I press stop.
Correct. Unfortunately, you can cut the circuit, yes.
So that's going to be pumping back forward.
Correct. So you'd have to hit pump twice, and then
stop twice.
Yeah, because of the relay. That the sole purpose is somebody can't come here and override you. That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
So if someone, whatever labor comes over, sticks a shovel and it falls and it hits your forward, now you have no control of your machine and you're up on the wall doing lintels, going fast. So you keep from that.
Always remember to press pump, and it's in forward. If I want to go to reverse, stop it.
Stop
then press
first.
reverse.
Yeah.
Then press pump again.
And then you hit stop and then both go
And
out.
then stop.
Yeah.
And then when I press pump again, it's back.
Yeah,
forward.
it's back and forward.
Correct.
Just always stop it before you switch it. No, never.
And they're good, to about 500-600 feet. They're pretty efficient. You start losing the line of sight, then you start going around the building or something, and you got to be relatively close. 250, 300 around the building.
Okay.
Especially you're going down through basement, 2 or 3 floor, 2 or 3 concrete levels. You got to be pretty close. 150 feet, 75, 175, somewhere around there. Yeah. They drop pretty drastically.
But this ain't the one that he was talking about. He was back over there behind us. He was way down there.
Yeah, the same one.
That's the same one.
Yeah,
the same one.
That's probably 650 feet to the.
Crocodiles.
Yeah.
So we get to the lake.
Huh?
So we got to the lake.
To the lake, correct. Yeah, they're pretty efficient. But that's line of sight too. That's down the road, and they're taking the machine down that way, and I'm going this way. So that's line of sight. When you start going through a building and through levels of concrete, it drops pretty drastically. On 900 megahertz, they don't penetrate.
Always make sure I turn this off.
In 5 minutes on activity, it will shut off by itself. Now, if you're in a forward gear and you're pumping all day long, it'll never shut off. But as soon as you hit pump off and you lay it, in 5 minutes it'll turn itself off.
So it's moving around.
It should never shut off.
And
It takes
walk back, yeah.
two double batteries. And the green light will flash to orange to red. Orange, you usually have about 6 good hours before it turns red and shuts off. So I usually keep 2 AA batteries in the glove box. When I see it flash orange, I finish that job, and then when I get in the truck,
Any certain brand?
energize the chip. Pretty good. We did the Aldi ship for a while, but they don't last too long.
Yeah. Alkaline would be better, right?
Yeah.
The alkaline one.
At Amazon ships.
Yeah.
They're cheap. So that's the remote part of it, and that's in a remote setting. Here. In the middle, of course, you have nothing. Even the remote won't work. And then you tag it out with a lock. Now nobody can switch it while you got it running. Just for whatever if you're just doing general maintenance and you just want to switch it back and forth, you know what I mean? You can lock it out. So when you do stop it and the engine's still running, you can lock it and then go around there and then look at stuff. And nobody can come here and what's this switch for here? Your hands in.
You lock it out.
Correct.
Around it.
Correct. Just lock it down. And then the keys are here. So that's remote, and then now you got a local panel, and then the locals work.
Always, I might as well just wire that straight to the phone.
best practice.
Harold, this goes right here, right?
CAN bus, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they they rattle, they fall out. You might try and drive it out again. I mean,
Do you have the key
I'm-
for closer?
I'm gonna yes. I'm gonna give you the PDF has all these numbers. So when I ask you what is F1, check that fuse. You know, because that houses the main supply. The 5 amps are for the switchover, and then the bottom one here for the 20 is your main feed.
Okay.
So and then there's a couple of them. The 30 is not going to be used until you hook your vibrator up, and then that's used. And then you're going to put these two plugs together, here to here. You put these two together, and then that'll initiate, and then your switch will be here for your switch reader. So you just cut that off, and then just put some connectors on it, and then put your micro switch on. Boom, that's that. And then your main power feed to the vibrator is going to come in through here, and then you plug it in here. That's it. That's it.
That one, and that one goes to there. This one goes to my switch. Got those
No, just
the plug.
just this one. X5 goes in here to here. This is for your micro switch, and this is for your plug coming in
Gotcha.
for your vibrator.
Gotcha.
So it's going to look like that.
Gotcha.
And the relays, and then you cross 181 is your relay for it. So you're going to need one relay, one switch. And we'll send you a
So
kit.
you already got a wire to the relay, the switch. All you got to do is bust them apart,
That's it.
and then the other two go straight to the vibrator.
That's it. And then put that relay in when we send it to you. The relay comes with the vibrator.
Yeah, you might as well go ahead and order that.
Yeah. He's a better electrician than I am. I'm more the mechanically inclined.
They're pretty straightforward. I mean, I can get you a wiring diagram on demand. I mean, I got 1,000 of them. So they're pretty easy. Every time I went through a pin, if you look in there, they're just numbered. They're all the same color, but they're numbered. And in the back they're numbered. The keys are ground, and then numerical number. 17 might run to the switchover. 18 might run to the proximity switches. The blue ones are the proximity switches. It's 4 wire. Now this keeps the energy off of what we were talking about, your proximity switches. That's
Reverse diode or something.
Yeah.
Turn
And
on and runs through it one way, so if you whack the other way, it won't run.
correct. So when you call me and say, every time I put it forward, I blow a fuse. Well, it's a directional diode that went bad. You've charged the battery on the machine. You got to take the battery out of the machine, charge it, and put it back in the machine. If you try to do it on the machine hooked to the leads, you'll blow that directional diode up. Spike blow. Especially when you're trying to put on start and then come over here. It fired up, it's going to blow the diode for sure. It's just too much energy. Run through the system.
Better just change.
Because you're running
battery
through
when
here,
it goes
through the
back.
whole frame up to the computer. Because there's a direct feed from that line that you're charging to the computer.
Yeah,
A
you can
direct
take the
feed.
cables loose and hook
Yeah,
it. You
yeah.
don't have to actually pick it out.
That's the norm, correct. But there is a direct feed from that to the computer.
So if the battery's bad cell, you start from the battery, you might as well just change the battery instead of jumping it off. Cause you more headache.
So you got your e-stop and it's indicated here on the e-stop. Yeah. And then you got fan, reverse, your test switch, we talked about. So on the switch over, 7, 8, 7, 8. 10 is the fire. 10 is the power feed going to it. So 10 is always going to be, even if you don't see 7 or 8, you're always going to see 10 fire. So 7, 8. And then on K238.1 is the switchover. K238 plain is the diff cylinders.
Yeah.
So it knows the POF card, the green POF card, knows when that cylinder is this, when it gets the fire, it knows to send the signal to K238.1. So when it does, it knows, if you look, these lines actually loop into each other. So when that cylinder is on this side, it knows we're rocking down on this side.
Gotcha.
And vice versa, in reverse.
In
they just
reverse, it
switch.
will do the opposite.
Correct. So there's actually a relay in here. You can see there's an orange relay. And the direction is correct. So if you take it out upside down, you put it in upside down. If you put them in wrong, of course, it won't initiate. So that's what it does. So POF card changes from an analog signal to a digital signal, so K23 is going to be it. Now the yellow box is a pulse box, and you see when I hit there, you lose power.
Gotcha.
And until I hit the fire, initiate, you're going to see both channels come back online. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then once I clear it off, it'll stay on all the time. This is only on the first fire up. So that's what that green pulse box does. It handles e-stop and your hopper brake switch. That's all that box does. It cuts main feed off. not to just this forward and reverse. Now the newer style, that's all it does is cut off your forward gear and your agitator line. On the older models, this is generation 3. On 4 and 5, they cut off just the forward gear because they have now thought it's a different premise. They put an actually compressor that you can suck water out of a 55-gallon drum and wash down the job. Well, if you kill the motor, you kill the compressor too. So it's a different way of thinking. So you can't kill the compressor, so leave the engine running. So it just kills the forward momentum and then the agitator. So anything from 14 and down, it'll kill the motor.
So crank the pump and I crank it. I can test it without a pump.
No, it has to be in a forward. Well, in theory, you can see the lights work, but you won't see the switch over actually until it's running and it's in a forward gear.
Okay.
So every time, if in theory, as a numerical order, so like a computer needs to see ones and zeros. A, B, C, D needs to happen. A, B, C, D. So if C is left out, the machine doesn't know what to do. So it holds tight. With working pressure, you figure out where C is at. You initiate the button again, it sees C, D, E. A, B, C, D. So that's all you're doing is taking C out of the equation, and the machine just holds it, figures out what it's going to do next. That's all that is in the premise. So if I initiate the fire again to go forward, it still doesn't see C because I've held the button for 5 seconds. So I need to hit the button again, and now it sees C, and it continues on. C's on.
Is there a certain position those need to be in?
No.
Left there, don't matter.
Like I said, the autocorrect takes care of all that, the guesswork for you. Now, if you get on a Putzmeister, an 88 design, yes, you have to do it manually. So I would hold this test button every morning and run that thing all the way down until it stopped. And then go ahead and hit it again and let it pump it again. And then if I did 600 yards, I'm gonna have to come down halfway and then recenter them again. That was the downfall. Because it's trying to add oil, always add oil, always add oil. Taking away is a lot more cumbersome, it's a lot more process. So when you pressure it out, it's taking away oil, it's pushing it back to the tank on the return. Because it's kind of a weird premise. You think one piston's pushing, the other one's sucking. One piston's pushing. It's not true.
Joel,
only one piston
cerrame la
is pushing
llave,
at
porfa.
one time, and then at the bottom you see the loop line. It's a big loop line. It goes from one piston to the other. So as one's pushing, the other one's pushing back with returning fluid, pushing back that cylinder. So if that oil isn't enough, when that piston goes all the way down, it doesn't have no oil to bring this all the way up, it stops. Now you're short. So the next time, now you're getting shorter. You gotta always add oil. So adding oil is a lot easier than taking oil away. So that's what you're doing, is taking oil away from the pressure down. I know it seems like a lot, but
It is a lot to take in at one time.
it's 30 years of useless knowledge, but
It ain't useless. I can tell you.
it's easy after you get in it. You get in the shit for about 6 months. After you see it working, you'll kind of understand. Okay, I see how that works now. It's weird, but I see how it works. After you operate it, you look at it. You see it for yourself. That shit ain't right, but it works. I mean, it doesn't seem right, but there's a theory behind it. And the theory is, how can I switch over efficiently without getting that to knocking your hard head off? That's the whole theory. That's everybody's the $1 million
That's
question.
what they're trying to figure out.
Everybody's striving for that. And the two big boys on the block saying they got it figured out. Trust me, they'll knock you down just the same as the reed will. Trust me. That's their whole theory. They use electronics and timing and MPS manifolds. Man, they put thousands and millions and billions of dollars in research to try to figure that whole scenario out. So that's what the machine is always trying to do for you. And sometimes it gets confused. So then you get the test switch. You override. So the engine's always on a time mechanism. We discussed the 250 engine hours. So it's good to stay by that. You got a simple gauge here for the hydraulic, and then you got a temperature in the center of it, and just kind of give you a gray area. Yeah. There is no temperature sensor on per se the engine for the computer. Now on generation 4 and 5 there is. It'll actually slow you down. You cut your strokes in half. This one will burn itself out. So if it's getting hot and you walk by and it gets hot, you need to see what the temperature is to figure out why it's hot. Did you leave the fan on? Did the fan malfunction? The best way of getting rid of a lot of heat is you stop and put water in the water box and add new oil, or new water, sorry. And then as that rod goes back and forth, it'll cool the rod down, which will return it on to cool. It'll cool up real quick. And then in short, you put water on the hydraulic tank and start sweating it down. And it'll dump a lot of heat off too, quickly.
What should it be around?
You'll be in Georgia, you'll probably be the same as us, probably around the 150 range, 140. It's like the working pressure. Shotcrete might go a little higher. Might go a little higher.
If you just don't know there, you better start.
Yeah, you'll feel it. You'll feel it radiating. Like, whoa, man, I got to do something. It ain't good for it. Long term. What I mean? You can do it once, twice, 10 times, but it'll get you over the life of it. So that K230 is leading to the switchover for reversing valve, and that's in here. And if you look at the placard here, it shows you what they do. So the closest one to you is for S-tube, right and left. And the furthest one is for your differential cylinders. So in theory, you see that middle of that bullseye where that proximity switch, the coil is? Here. See the middle of that bullseye? So I'm gonna...
Yeah, that one. You're just gonna have to push it with a small Phillips. Back and forward. Once.
It'll start making sense to you. I'll give you this little tidbit before I leave. This out. It's always there. So that's all that PUF card is doing. Yeah, one power to one side. If I come to you on the back side, see it? One side left, this side right. That's all that PFO card is doing. Switching those switches around. So that's all that card does. Is put power on this side and that side. And you switch back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. So in theory, if you lost all power, manually, you can get the concrete out of the cylinder, manually. In short, if you dump in a main drive pump, you're gonna do nothing there. So in that case, I would bust this off, take one of these out, and manually with a pick bar or something, move it over manually. And then you can wash that cylinder out. And then come onto the house and figure out what's wrong. But that's what I would do if I lost all power. I mean hydraulic power. But if I lost just electrical and and I got a forklift hooked to me, and I got it running, I come over here and switch over, wash out, switch it one more time, boom, I'm done, let's go. Get back to the house, find out what happened. And they all near, throw up, get that burner belt out, your cylinder go out, whatever. Proximity switch fell off, whatever. But you see it kind of making sense now,
Yeah.
So, any questions that you can think of, or did we miss something that you thought you should know?
Covered all the bases. A lot to take in.
It is a lot. He's going to send you a PDF so you can kind of go over, your daily,
And also
weekly,
the video. You
monthly.
can review this as many times as you can.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and just pump with it.
Yeah.
Won't pump with it, man.
No. I mean right now.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, because we just wanted to see if you got the basics. Do it with the remote control. You got it in the center. You got this one in the center. You got this. So grease every 50 yards or after every job.
Yes.
And yeah,
After every job.
never leave water on the water box overnight. Just right.
You can't turn the machine off, go home, and when you come back on, it'll be in the same position, and it's simple. You can leave it. You don't turn it all the way in at the end of the job. You leave it all the way out. Just be mindful when you turn it on, it's gonna be wide as open.
Mm-hmm.
I usually, when I'm washing at the end of the night, I usually leave it wide open, because when I know I put my 2 gallons in, I turn it on, boom, 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 boom. I turn it off, put the slick back in, boom, boom. I stop it, and then I screw it all the way in, back it up 3 turns, let's go. By the time I'm doing all that, I ask the driver, hey man, what kind of stuff you got? Whoa. You see him do this?
Yeah.
It's a 4. Get your ass up there, you sorry bastard. Get up there. I want you to see it's a 4. All right, well, it needs 20 gallons. All right. By the time you get 20, I'm finishing up. It rolls out, let's go. That's a good one. I don't know if you've seen me do that one.
Huh?
Have you seen me do that one? Beating on the drum? Oh, that's a beauty. Hey, you fuck me every time. Every time. Yeah, that's a 6. That bitch come out and hit your grade about a 3. You like, you sorry motherfucker. What are you gonna do with that? Oh, we'll shovel it in. I'm like, man, that plug your ass up good.
I want to see it come out the chute.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
All right.
That's good.